Welcome to the Direct Response Playbook, brought to you by Campaign Refinery. I'm Travis Ketchum, joined today by David Cartolano. Thanks for being here, David.
Love being here, Travis.
Look, today's a short one because you came here to know one very explicit answer. How long does it take for my email to send? Well, I think that probably matters based on context, don't you, David?
Absolutely.
Are you sending to
it
one
is important.
person? Yeah, one person? 10 people? 10,000? 10 million? These things matter a lot. So why don't you tell me what your experience has been, David, and I can give some insight from the email service provider point of view.
Absolutely. So for me, what I've learned in taking care of other people's lists and having my own is email sending speed is kind of like oxygen, right? When things are sending quickly, you don't even think about it. But when all of a sudden you hit the send button and emails aren't sending out, or you're getting a weird open rate or a weird delivery rate because things weren't sent out on time, oh my gosh, the oxygen is sucked out of the room, right? And what I found is, and this is for you like medium to large to enterprise size business, when the more contacts you have, the longer it takes to send. And depending on if you have a campaign going on, this makes a huge difference. This could be the not diamond in the rough, but this could be like the thing that puts gray in your hair in the last 24 hours of your campaign.
Looking at my hair here, for those of you who are listening on audio only, I got plenty of grays to, considering I'm only in my 30s. So.
Right. But what I've found, and here's like why it's important and what you can do to increase your sending speeds. Obviously, the email service provider you choose is very important. If you are using the same email service provider that you had when you had 50 subscribers and now you have 100,000 subscribers and you have the same provider, I would question it, right? Because now you have two Yankee stadiums filled with people. You need other infrastructure, right? You can't just host that in your living room no more, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is to increase your email speed is I found that Google is kind of like the TSA, right? Where if you have only one bag filled with non-sketchy shit, right? You're going to go through TSA relatively quickly. They're not going to stop you. But if you have a bunch of pictures and a bunch of pretty designs and GIFs and all the fun stuff that's appealing to the human eye, or even like an attachment, you're taking more bags through the Google TSA, the AOL TSA.
And be sure to check your email signature, by the way, because I know in the corporate world, when you're sending it out, that is one sneaky thing. We're like, there's nothing in this email. It's like, well, you've got all these social links at the bottom. You've got your corporate logo. You've got your, you got a bunch of stuff hitching a ride, a bunch of baggage that you didn't necessarily account for.
Exactly. And that's like the person at the airport who has 5 Gucci bags and a little like white dog on their right arm. And we all have seen that person. Don't
and
tell me
lace
you
up
haven't.
boots that go all the way up the calf. So you gotta, and they don't have pre-check. So they're spending all the time to unlace those bad boys to get them out. Anyway, took it too far, but
no, it's okay. And they're wearing sunglasses in a perfectly lit airport. But
yeah.
Anyway, you get the picture, and this stuff can affect your sending speed very much. And Travis, from your side, I'd love to hear like what you've seen from your users who have the best sending speeds and what practices they have.
Sure. So I can say, first of all, there's probably 2 buckets if you came here asking about sending speed. I'm sending a personal email to a single individual. Why is it slow? And that probably comes down to, are you on just a quality mailbox provider in general, right? So if you're on something like, Gmail or a professional version of Gmail, it's probably going to send very quickly. Whereas if you're on some random budget hosting provider, or like it's sitting on your WordPress install site, right? You're asking for trouble because they're trying to maximize their margin. And to do that, they put it on really, really weak hardware with really, really weak infrastructure, and probably have really weak reputation because oftentimes the people that are attracted to that are not necessarily the best senders, right? So there's a lot of things working against you. Conversely, if you're sending out bulk email, this is something that we spent a lot of time and resources trying to optimize. You have kind of the same kind of concept, right? If you got this like premium infrastructure and everything else, that matters, but your reputation is a big piece of it too. So reputation and consistency. So if you are regularly sending, for example, every single day to your email list of 100,000 people, Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft are going to know that it's safe to accept the 100,000 emails because historically it has been consistent and it has been safe for them to get because that has high engagement rate, low complaint rates, all that kind of stuff, right? If you're going from 0 to 100,000, you haven't emailed your list in 6 months or whatever, you're like, I want to send 100,000, you're going to get a bunch of at least temporary deferrals where they're saying, hold on, we got to figure you out first. Come back later, please. Come back later, please. Come back later, please. Over and over until hopefully they eventually let you through, or they may just permanently fail and never let you through because, the 10% of it they did let through didn't have good engagement and they're like, I don't trust this guy. Let's just block it, right? So reputation and infrastructure are the two things. So there's the reputation of yourself and the reputation of the infrastructure itself. Now, even with that, so we went to extremes to figure out how do we just insanely ramp up the ability, the top line level that we can send per hour, because you look at if there's a bunch of other senders sending at the exact same time, sometimes that can bog down the infrastructure more than Google or Microsoft or Yahoo would be willing to accept it. But if that's not the bottleneck, how fast are they willing to accept it in general, even if you are deemed safe? Because there are limits that they want to take email from anybody for anything, right? And so sometimes you actually want to intentionally slow things down, believe it or not. Yes, in general, it is pretty quick. I think we're at a rate of 15 to 20,000 emails a minute is kind of our upper limit, which is quite quick. But you start working backwards. If you have a big list, it's still going to take some time for that to complete, at least a couple minutes, right? Even at max capacity. If you are a really big brand with millions of people, you got to really space that out and understand you may have to enact a throttle. So it may take 15, 20 minutes for that broadcast to complete, right? As opposed to a couple minutes. And that's important because if you're running a webinar and you're saying, hey, we're getting live right now, you don't want the, hey, we just went live email to get to them 20 minutes after you went live.
Yep.
Right. So these are things that they're understandable, predictable, and expected delays when your audience gets really big. Even if the infrastructure could technically send it faster, they may be limiting it intentionally. So the email actually inboxes, instead of getting, please wait 5 minutes, please wait 15 minutes, please wait an hour from Google or whoever the recipient mailbox is on. So I know it was a long-winded answer, but from an email service provider's perspective, if you have a really big audience, you need to budget that in for how you're talking to your audience and when you're telling them an event is happening, if it's time sensitive. And it encourages you, from my perspective, to do that segmentation more, right? Because if you're saying, do I really need to send it to all 1.2 million people? Or is it actually important for the 100,000 or 50,000 or 15,000 that are most relevant to the offer, not only because that's who is most likely to convert, that's who's going to give you the best reputation, but also that's who I can get to the inbox like that, right? And so all those incentives are stacking up in your favor to be more mindful about who you're sending to reduce latency, reduce overall send times, and more accurately and actively sustain high reputation and high deliverability. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, okay, cool. How do I increase my email speed today? Make your emails less pretty, right? That's immediately it. If you have images and stuff, great. Use a image compressor like tinypng.com or the 7 million other ones out there to reduce the file size.
Put that baby on a diet.
Yeah, put that baby on a diet, right? Choose an email service provider that can handle high volumes, right? And those email service providers will not be advertised as one size fits all. Again, not calling anybody out, but just look at the marketing.
As a general rule of thumb, if there's a free plan, you might have trouble.
Perfect. Yep. That was in the back of my head. Another thing, make sure that, like Travis said, you are segmenting, right? Send to people who want to open the emails first if you have a giant list. And as always, keep your reputation up. Like your ability to make people open, click, and reply to your emails is kind of like getting a TSA pre-check with Google, right? Those are the things that you can do.
Yep. Nailed it. All right, cool. Well, if you want to learn more about this, we actually have a whole blog post written about email send speed. So if you want to dive more into it and get some more of the nuance per service and per situation, we got you covered in the show notes down below. If you want to learn about sending email at scale, we can talk to you about that at Campaign Refiner. And if you want to see newsletters sending like lightning fast, then you check out what David's got going on over at wealthyinbox.news. All right.
Sweet.
Till next time, like, subscribe. Talk to you then.